Dracula Morphy, Lord of the Night. That is what he was called by the denizens of the world. Fangs of a vampire, 4 eyes like a demon. The lives he took could make angels weep. A predator at the apex of the food chain. Neither human nor beast were safe from his thirst for blood. Perhaps that is why, one day, he was sitting on his throne looking very unhappy.
Nothing seems to entertain me anymore.
He sees one of his servants nearby and immediately calls for his service.
You there. Fetch me a glass of...
The painful breath Morphy breathed was as sharp as the stake that was suddenly driven deep into his chest.
Master, I couldn't help it. You look so bored.
She lodges the stake deeper into Morphy's heart.
I don't think you even know my name, but I love you. I'd do anything for you. That's why I'll make your wish come true. You've done everything in this life. Your next life will be new and fun. Don't worry, I'll join you soon.
As the stake finally made its way to the depths of Morphy's heart, ultimately killing him, perhaps this was karma, justice for the Vampire Lord's tyranny. As his eyes faded, Morphy wondered if this was truly the end. A wave of regret crushed onto him as his life ended. And yet, his eyes woke. He was weightless, floating in an ethereal space. Is this the afterlife? A thought that prior to his death never once entered his mind.
Dracula Morphy, pitiful accursed one. Your sin is so great that the blood you've taken could fill an ocean. And your soul is drowning in that very ocean.
That powerful voice was impossible not to be heard in the vast void. It echoed in Morphy's head. He looked at who could command such dominance, and all he saw was a light bright like the sun, flaring at him. Even with 4 eyes, it was impossible to look.
You have lived a terrible life. You are no longer fit to be a part of this world. Do not expect any kindness from me.
As Morphy heard this, it clicked to him that this was no doubt a god, perhaps the god. For the first time, he feared for the end, feared for facing all of his victims. The heaviest feeling was the shame in his heart. It weighed like he was carrying the entire world, and his sins on top of that. But soon his heart settled. He accepted the weight of his actions, and the life he lived flashed before his eyes. Memories of everything. The one good thing out of his repugnant life was the cat he had. Probably the only thing he genuinely cared for.
And yet, I shall give it to you.
The soul of Flare died down, and to Morphy's surprise, it was the cat. His cat is the god of everything? How? This tiny creature that demanded treats is actually capable of deciding your fate? Morphy wanted to reply, but he couldn't utter a single word. He was simply a being floating, witnessing his hour of judgment.
Your previous life was a terrible one, but now you have another chance. You have an opportunity to do so much good. Make the most of it, and seek redemption for your sins.
No amount of reincarnations would undo the lives he had taken, and yet he was brought back to life as the cat god had said. Everything faded to black, and once Morphy opened his eyes, sunlight. He woke up in an unknown garden, alive, and more importantly, for the first time, the vampire could see the sky during the daylight. Morphy checked the nearby fountain, and he could even see his own reflection in the water, but he looked different. His hair was slightly longer, and it was green, and he was wearing clothes that he would see from a fantasy video game.
Am I even still a vampire? I can still feel my powers. Are those cat ears?
Before Morphy could even finish investigating his new look, His senses alerted him to the presence of two beings. One was a stern-looking young woman with bunny ears, clad in revealing armor. The other was a short boy with dog ears who acted like he'd rather be anywhere but here.
Halt! You're in the presence of... the royal gardens.
Only the king, queen, and their inner circle are permitted here.
Explain yourself.
What? I don't even know where I am, or how I got here. Also, what kind of knight are you? Your armor's supposed to cover your...
Without any hesitation, the female knight lunges at the feline vampire. Morphy barely blocked the attack, having nothing but his own fists and fangs to fight with.
Whoa. I get it now. This is the first time I've seen someone match my strength. This is shaping up to be exciting.
Who are you? Are you a spy? An assassin?
You'll find out when you meet everyone else I've put in the afterlife.
Morphy's smirk of excitement fades away as he feels torn on the inside. He remembers the words of both his killer maid and his cat. Those memories flash before his eyes.
Don't worry, I'll join you soon.
You have an opportunity to do so much good. Make the most of it, and seek redemption for your sins.
The knight and Morphy are still arms locked in a test of strength, but the cat vampire noticeably relents on his grip.
I surrender.
Huh?
The bunny knight lets go as well out of confusion. She definitely noticed Morphy's dejected demeanor. In the end, the maid she was with used magic to put Morphy to sleep. A few moments later... Yet again, Morphy awakes from a slumber. He stands in a grand room, his wrists tied up, and beside him were the two who captured him. He looks up to see two people sitting on thrones. The king had the horns and a tail of a dragon, but looked very ill. The queen was the only human in a room full of people with animal ears, tails, and horns. They both looked very pale.
Who have you brought to us, Seloth? Claudette?
My king, I sensed strange magic from the royal gardens. So, I asked Knight Claudette to come investigate with me, and...
All right, that's quite enough. Claudette?
As the court mage was trying to say, Your Majesty, we spotted this man at the royal gardens. We have reason to believe that he could be an assassin or spy from a neighboring nation.
That is concerning, if true.
Indeed. He does look quite strange, doesn't he?
Hey, what does that mean?
Claudette elbows Morphy on the ribs.
You have 4 ears, and 4 eyes. Your other set of ears is pointy, like a Liliumite elf, or one of a fae.
So he must be a foreign enemy then. Shall we have him executed?
I just got brought back to life and now I'm going to get killed again.
That won't be necessary. I can see it in his eyes. If he meant to kill us, he would have already done so.
Your Majesty, are you sure? He was trespassing on royal grounds.
You fought him up close, didn't you? I'm sure you can tell that this one is more powerful than anyone in this room. Say, strange one, how would you like to be a knight of the kingdom of Beastia?
What?
Okay, I've had enough of this song and dance. I know where this is going.
Morphy easily breaks apart his constraints by moving his wrists apart from each other.
It's always people in power trying to use what they have for suffering. I'm sorry, but I refuse. You can just execute me now, because I'd rather die than be used in some monarch's war that only hurts the common folk and not the people at the top. I'm not going to be a weapon that takes the lives of innocents. Never again.
As Morphy says this, the king and queen both look at each other with a warm smile, a sight rare to see from the queen, who is known to be quite intimidating. Morphy starts walking away from the throne room. You can see Seloth and Claudette getting ready to hinder the cat vampire from leaving, but the queen raises her hand to stop the two. Hours later, Morphy is in a place called the Cat's Claw Tavern. Despite still having vampiric powers, the drawbacks are completely gone. He can feast and drink on things other than blood and human flesh. Currently, he's partaking in ale and chicken, though because of his strange appearance, most people avoided him.
I haven't tasted these in ages. I love you, chicken and ale.
As our cat vampire hero is enjoying his food, Seloth and Claudette show up and both sit beside Morphy.
Sorry, but my answer is still no.
No.
Also, isn't he too young to be drinking?
I'll have you know that I'm older than the two of you combined.
Wait, is that true?
He uses magic to keep himself young. And as far as I know, he's served every king we've ever had.
You're joking, right?
Minutes pass by. Seloth's already asleep on the table, while Claudette and Morphy are still drinking and talking.
By the way, I'd like to apologize for my comments about your outfit. It's clear as day that you don't need heavy armor to beat me in a fight.
You say that, but the king was right. You could have easily overpowered me and Seloth there. Why would you hold back and let yourself be caught? Just who are you?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Try me.
Morphy takes a swig of his drink to prepare himself for a big reveal.
I'm not from here. And by that, I don't mean this country, I mean this world. I died and was brought back to life. I just happened to wake up in that garden when you found me. The 4 eyes and pointy ears are from my past life too. I told you you wouldn't believe me.
I must admit, this is quite the tale. But if it were true, then you being at the royal garden, meeting my king and queen, must be fate.
Even if I believe in that, let's just say the life I used to live isn't one that I'm proud of. I'm no good man.
And yet you were brought back, right?
So you believe me?
It doesn't matter what I believe. You have the chance to do some good, don't you?
And what makes you think that killing for some royals is doing good?
Because I've served every monarch this kingdom has ever had, and I have never met anyone quite like the king and queen.
Speaking of, why doesn't the queen look like any of us?
You seriously don't know? You're either telling the truth about not being from this world, or you're a mighty good actor.
She's the princess of the Heliman nation, a neighboring kingdom. She married King Daegon to form an alliance between our small kingdom and her big empire.
So she's like me, an outsider. But people who marry rulers don't usually get a throne next to their spouse, right?
Talk to her and find out why. You'll see why we both would lay down our lives for her, just like we would our king.
She sent us here to get you to come back. At least, speak to her.
Morphy returns to the throne room, this time surprisingly empty. Only Queen Helen in sight. The king nowhere to be seen.
You sent for me? I heard that you're just like me. Out of place.
You misunderstand. This is my home. These are my people. I may be born somewhere else, but this is where I belong.
Is it because the king is sick? You get to rule in his place, is that it?
My husband is very ill, yes. That is why he is not here. He is resting. And if his health continues to deteriorate, he will not live another winter. Without a child or any other family, I am next in line to the throne.
So you do admit that you're only here for the throne. Ah, politicians, no matter where, are all the same.
You misunderstand again. I do not want power, and yet it shall be bestowed upon me. Naturally, there are those who question my motives, but I will do whatever I can to protect this kingdom's people as queen, even if it means going against my own father's country.
Is that why you brought me here? To help you protect the people?
Yes. Tell me, what is your name?
Morphy. Dracula Morphy.
Kneel, Dracula Morphy. Become a knight of Beastia.
In this moment, Morphy felt the heart of a queen ready to rule with benevolence. Morphy knew in his heart that this was the second opportunity he was given, a chance to do something good in this life. And just like that, he knelt. The queen pulled out a sword adorned with purple jewels and carried it from tip to handle horizontally.
Rise, Sir Morphy, a knight of the kingdom of Beastia. This sword is yours.
Morphy stands up and takes the sword, seeing his reflection on the blade.
Also, my husband wanted me to tell you that you are now general of our armies. Congratulations.
Oh, what an honor. Wait, what?